What if I told you something completely shocking about the Jurassic World Mosasaurus? Because we know it's completely separate to the Jurassic World Rebirth Mosasaurus. They're two completely different animals, but I've seen this photo circulating around, and everyone seems to use this as proof of the original Mosasaurus' death. Well, that might not be entirely correct, and I'm gonna tell you something and show you something which will blow your mind. And we're gonna prove once and for all whether the original Mosasaurus from Jurassic World is dead or alive. And let's start with what is 100% canon at this point in time. In Jurassic World in 2015, the Mosasaurus is a fully grown animal. It is healthy, it is very much alive, and it is the park's apex aquatic predator. And hell, at the end of the film, it famously kills the Indominus Rex and disappears back into its lagoon. No death, no injury, or no implications afterwards, because we're gonna jump to Fallen Kingdom. Now you see, in Fallen Kingdom, the guys in that little submarine pod suggest the Mosasaurus might have starved to death, because they say whatever's down here is long dead.
Relax. Anything in here be dead by now.
But we literally see it completely alive. It destroys the submarine, eats a mercenary, and most importantly here, it escapes Isla Nublar out into the open ocean. And then we come on to the really interesting stuff now. Dominion comes out in 2022, and yes, the Dominion features the Mosasaurus from Jurassic World. We see it attacking a crab fishing boat early on in the film, a clear indication that it's out in the open world and has been for several years now. Well, at least since 2018. It also appears again later on in the movie, swimming along whales, showing it's still active out in the global ecosystem. It's not dead. It's not washed up like in that photograph, but I know, you could say, well, Jurassic World Rebirth takes place in 2027, 5 years after the events of Dominion. That's plenty of time for someone to go out, attack it, kill it, cull it, whatever it might be, right? Because let's face it, this Mosasaurus, as seen in Dominion, is attacking fishing boats. It's attacking the local ecosystem. Surely everyone would want it dead. I mean, it's literally a man-eater. We've seen it potentially hunting humans. It's a danger to people out in the open ocean. But then hang on, 4 years had passed since Fallen Kingdom. No one had hunted it down between that period. Because in Dominion, we see it at the end naturally slotting into the ecosystem with the whales. So has something happened between 2022's Dominion and 2027's Rebirth to say that they have hunted this Mosasaurus down, and that photo is of the OG Mosa. And this is where things are going to get extremely interesting, because obviously we know the Rebirth Mosa is InGen's Mosa. It's completely different. It was made in 2010 in this facility, which is confusing in itself, because InGen was also part of Masrani Global, which also had a Mosasaurus in Jurassic World in 2010. So InGen were clearly doing naughty stuff on the side on this island in 2010. We know that. They made the D-Rex. It was also the experimentation for the hybrid theories. So the fact here is, in 2027, there was definitely two Mosas. The one they had the tracking data for, which they bought from InGen, and the one which was in the Mosasaurus Lagoon, escaped out into the wild, and potentially has been killed. Now let's look at this photo in depth. You can clearly see a Mosasaurus there, which is completely different to the Rebirth one. It has the same tooth structure, the armored-like scales, and matches the original Mosasaurus to a T. In fact, you could even say it's the same one based on that picture. And it clearly depicts that they've hunted it or it's washed up on a shore somewhere, and it's an actual photo, right? It's not a prop, it's not concept art, it was used in the dive bar we see in Rebirth, and they've hunted it down. Very much like you see the Megalodon Jaws, and they reference that directly in the movie. Now, I've seen a few theorists out there say this is the original Mosa, she's dead, they killed her off screen, yada yada yada. And at first glance, without doing any research, you'd say that, right? For views and clicks and sensationalizing it all. But that is far from the truth, my friends. Now, who's to say this isn't another Mosa? I mean, we've already seen a second out in the ocean. But you might be saying, well, Shadows, hang on. This looks exactly like the original. And Rebirth tells us that all the dinosaurs are dying out because of the climate. They can only survive in the equatorial range, or the equatorial range. And to that, I would say you're absolutely correct. But this Mosasaurus is swimming with whales, just like we see at the end of Dominion. They migrate and travel. The Mosasaurus could easily travel to the center of the globe, or the equatorial range, and stay there and survive, right? Hell, that's how the Mosasaurus in Rebirth we see is surviving. Why can't the OG? But Shadows, we've got this picture, and it looks exactly like the original one from Jurassic World. That is correct as well, but we know they're clearly cloning other species. They've cloned a Megalodon. Well, someone has. They cloned this other Mosasaurus. They've cloned other Spinosaurus. They've cloned other aquatic animals. The Dunkleostesis we see has also been cloned. Done a brilliant video on that, by the way. Check it out after this. So you see, there's potential for it to be a different Mosasaurus, but I know you're probably thinking, well, Shadows, that's a reach. It looks exactly the same. I mean, if some other company had cloned a Mosasaurus, it would also look different. Look at the differences between the Rebirth Spino and the original, and this photo looks exactly like the original. Therefore, it is, right? Well, I'm gonna drop a big bombshell on you right now. This Mosasaurus, which we see in the photo, is not our beloved Mosasaurus. And how do I know this? Not speculation, but fact. I'm gonna lay it on you right now. I decided to look into who made the art for this photo, who'd actually made all the props and everything we see in the movie. And lo and behold, I found it on Instagram. And I took to messaging them, believe it or not, because everyone was asking, is this the beloved Mosasaurus? Because initially they put up obviously all this art and they're extremely proud of it, and I would be too. It's a great job. Building the lore for Rebirth was fantastic. So they put all this up, but they had to go back and edit it. And it's this section here where they've clarified. And I will read it for you now. I quote, "This Mosa is not your beloved one. Don't worry." Now, there's a reason they had to put that in. That's because people were obviously asking in the comments, and they likely had to clarify its canonicity, if that's even a word. You see, Universal, believe it or not, is actually pretty on the ball with this lore. There was an instance before on Twitter where a developer of a game, which I believe at the time was Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Aftermath, had insinuated that their game was going to be canon to the movie franchise. Universal saw this and made them clarify that it was not canon. It was considered soft canon. So anyone who has links to the official Jurassic Park movie universe, such as creating art, stills, props, etc., if they post anything out there, they have to be crystal clear with their wording and whether or not it's canon to the lore. In this case, the people who made all these graphics had to go back and clarify that that Mosasaurus picture wasn't the one from Jurassic World. And there's only two reasons. One, because the fans were extremely upset, and two, Universal made them clarify. Regardless of which one of them, or even both of them, is true, we still now have confirmation that that isn't the original Mosasaurus. She is still out there in the open ocean, not washed up on the beach like this picture depicts. That is a third Mosasaurus, believe it or not. How crazy is that? Oh, and not just any Mosasaurus, my friends. That washed up one on the beach there, that is definitely a Masrani global clone. So you are telling me either A, someone got a hold of the DNA and cloned an exact replica, or B, they had another Mosasaurus in a facility somewhere in the world. That in itself is really scary, but in terms of our OG girl who took down the Indominus Rex, yes, she's still alive. But now, here is the big question for me. Where is she? Would she fight for dominance with the other Mosa we see in Rebirth? Or would it be like great white sharks? They don't really fight. Or other whales? Will they just stick to their own territories, locations? Now, all that is clearly theory work, but I want to get back on pace here. We've proved once and for all the Mosasaurus from the original Jurassic World isn't dead. And if you see anything saying she is, well, you know, they're just doing so for clicks and views. If you learned something today and you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and subscribe for plenty more Jurassic content, dinosaur content, theories, and everything else in between, because I do so on this channel every single week. Subscribe right now and you won't miss a video. And if you become a member, you get to see them early. So massive thanks to my InGen security team who are on screen now: TVM Wannabe 1018, Joseph Frost Ghost, and Zarkadian. Thanks, guys. And if you came across a Mosasaurus out in the open ocean, could your day get any worse? You bet Jurassic can. Catch you later.